Looking through the lot, now you know I'm coming through. When the growth look good on you, best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Table turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keep dealing me cards, I keep fitting in love.
Yes, my people. Big up everybody who is inside at this current moment in time. Yes, we're here with another pre-recorded. You will catch me in the live chat, chopping it up with you guys. You know, sometimes I do want to just sit back and just chop it up with you guys, you know, in the comments. And I can't always do that, you know, sometimes when you're trying to do a stream and, you know, trying to do a stream and then, you know, pick out comments and stuff like that. Nah, man, let's have a conversation, you know, whilst you hear me in the background, you know, whilst you hear me in the background. But, you know, today, you know, I want to take a look, you know, as you guys can obviously see on the screen, I really wanted to take a look at Matip and Gomez. Now, obviously, the caption here is, what are Liverpool to do with the centre-back pairing this summer? And that was kind of, that's kind of my, let me not say agenda, but my kind of angle, if I'm being totally honest with you, because, of course, Liverpool, we already know. Everybody in the chat, you already know the vibes. Liverpool are obviously looking for another centre-back, whether that be left-sided centre-back, right-sided centre-back, or a right-back, you know, in terms of just finding a defender. We are looking at that back line and deciding on what we can potentially do. Now, there has been obviously talks, you know, in terms of maybe a Gomez potentially might leave. Maybe Matip might stay. Heck, we've still got Nat Phillips on the book. So, you know, that kind of tells you the kind of situation that, you know, we find ourselves in. So when we're looking, you know, at, you know, Matip and Gomez and, you know, Van Dijk, Konate, you know, all of them, the four centre backs. You know, I remember when this picture first came out, I remember looking at that thinking, wow, you know what? That's actually pretty decent. You know, you got Van Dijk, you know, doing his thing at the time. You know, Matip was obviously there. Konate, I think, had just come, kind of thing. Gomez, you know, you were like, all right, you know what? If Gomez can stay injury free and all that kind of good stuff and blah blah blah, then, you know, fantastic. But ultimately, if I'm looking at it now, you're almost like, damn, you know, Van Dijk in his 30s, Matip in his 30s, Gomez injury prone, Konate still quite young and he's only just come, but, you know, he's probably the most informed out of all of them, if I'm being totally honest with you, which is, you know, kind of crazy to think, you know, that he would be the most informed one. I would have thought that Van Dijk, obviously he had the ACL injury and blah, blah, blah. So of course, you know, but just in a general sense, when we saw the performances last season, you know, you're looking at it and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, Konate, and it's mad because I wanted to make this point. I always talk about Konate because I really do like him as a centre back. I really do. I don't want people to think otherwise or, oh, you always this. No. I do think he is a good centre back, but he does have the bozo gene. You know, regardless of anything, whether you want to believe it or not, he has that bozo gene, and he's not a defender that I would say or I would consider to be comfortable in those kind of areas where Liverpool are now playing. When he was playing at centre back, you never saw him in those areas as much anyway. So you saw him there maybe a couple of times, so you didn't have to worry about it too much and, you know, having to defend in those kind of wide areas, etc., etc. But now you're seeing him there all the time. You're starting to notice a little bit, especially when you compare to other right-sided centre backs in a back three. You start to notice a massive difference, you know, between the two. But when you put him in at centre back, fantastic. You know, I genuinely believe one of the best, you know, young defenders, you know, out there, you know, under the age of 23. I think he's just under that. Anyway, so, but obviously we're looking today at Gomez and Matip, and those are the two that I really wanted to focus on, if I'm being totally honest with you. You know, two players who they've had their lows. You know, they really have had their lows in a general sense, you know, when you think about it, you know, in terms of the injuries that these guys have, you know, picked up, you know, during their time at Liverpool. Guys, make sure you smash a like. But, you know, even, you know, during their time at Liverpool, when you think about the amount of games that both of these players have missed, it's incredible that they're still here, if I'm being super honest with you, because and it's, you know, it may be a testament to them as well, because they've each had at least one season where I've looked at them and thought, bang, really, really good performance kind of thing. You know, Gomez, obviously the 1920 season, you know, Matip, I always feel like he's had like, it's been like a couple of seasons maybe where I'll be like, oh, you know what, Matip has had more good seasons than Joe Gomez, if we're being totally honest with you. And Matip, in my opinion, is a better defender anyway. You know, if he was a defender who wasn't so injury prone, boy, he would be Van Dijk's partner. Would we have then looked at Konate the same way? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, and heck, would Gomez have even have gotten himself a look in kind of thing? You know, I had always advocated for Liverpool to play to the back three because I felt like, well, you've got four. Let's say you just take those four and then add in Nat Phillips. You've got enough there to be able to play a back three. To be honest with you, back three with two as your backup in terms of Nat Phillips and whoever else out of Gomez and Konate, but. You know, we never really did that. We played to the back two, so and you know we don't really rotate that much. So these guys they only got games due to players being injured. If one or the other was injured, then the other would play. Then they both get injured. Konate now comes in. He's the one that plays. But when we're looking at, you know, moving on to next season, it is a very, very tricky one as to what do you guys think in the comments, and let me know what you guys are thinking. You know, as this video is going on. What do we think about Joe Gomez and Joel Matip in terms of, do we keep them? Now, obviously, we don't want too much upheaval at the football club. We don't want a raft of players, especially the experienced ones. So Matip and Gomez would fall into that bracket. We don't want too many of these guys to be leaving the football club because if for example, you know, and the news broke out, you know, at the time of this video, the news broke out yesterday, but this video obviously will be posted out sometime next week. But you know, at the time of this video, we're talking about Jordan Henderson potentially leaving the football club on top of James Milner, who's already left, on top of Fabinho, who's already left, on top of Ox, on top of Keita. You know, all of those experienced players. Yes, they didn't play that much in terms of the Oxes, the Keitas, and the James Milners and stuff like that, but they were the experienced players in the team. Now, I'm not asking, or I'm not advocating for these guys all to leave because, as I said, you will then have a massive hole in terms of then you've only got a fair few amount, you know, of experienced players. So Trent, Robbo, Salah, Van Dijk, Ali kind of thing. After that, the rest I wouldn't really say is that experience in terms of being in that first team and understanding, you know, what it means. And also behind the scenes, something that a lot of people keep attributing to Jordan Henderson. But if you lose all of them, then you've lost quite a very sizable chunk. So I'm just looking at it. And of course, I'm trying to look at it also from Liverpool's perspective as well. What are they trying to do moving into the season? Are they giving a Joe Gomez, a Joel Matip one more chance? Even though this club seems to give people more chances than more chances than a cat has lives, like that kind of thing. It's just constant chance after chance after chance after chance. Now, you guys know me. You know my stance. You know how I stay when it comes to Liverpool. I want us to be more ruthless because being ruthless, if I'm being totally honest with you, is probably the only way, in my opinion, to sustain winning. I don't feel like you can be a club that's going to want to win or is trying to win by being sentimental in certain areas. Now, of course, like I mentioned, I'm not saying just get rid of everybody and boom, boom, gut the whole team out and, you know, blah, blah. Van Dijk, he was kind of poor last season, so he gets... I'm not even saying all of that. What I am saying is there are areas of the team where, one, in terms of their age, two, in terms of their ability, you know, and, you know, three, just in terms of their availability, you know, it's not really matching up, if I'm being totally honest with you. And those two are two players, in my opinion, doesn't really match up, to be honest with you, you know. And again, I'm not going to advocate to sell them because I just think that maybe advocating for that is maybe a bit too harsh if you're not going to get someone in. If I knew Liverpool and I knew that we would replace these guys, bon voyage, you can go. You know, I wouldn't even be too fussed, especially if you've got two experienced players, or even if you've got one experience and one kind of project like a Levi Colwill plus another, you know, centre back in like a Pavard. I'll be absolutely ecstatic with something like that. Like I would look at that and think, there we go. Liverpool are playing it smart now, because now you've got one guy who can play left centre back and you've got another guy to play right centre back, but both are specialists in those positions, as opposed to none of Joe Gomez or Matip are good at playing left centre back at all. You know, so it's like, well, if they can't play there, the only other side really is to play the right side of centre back, but we're kind of stopped in that kind of area, so to speak, depending on which formation that it is you want to play. Then obviously with Trent's new inverted position kind of thing, I don't really know. Maybe you keep one. So the one in my mind that you would keep is Joe Gomez due to his age and being homegrown, kind of thing. That's why I look at that and think, maybe you would keep someone like him. Matip probably would be the one to go, even though I feel Matip is a better defender. Again, I look at the age and stuff like that. Maybe you keep a Matip and then you don't sign a right-sided centre back, and then maybe you just focus on that left-sided centre back and replace Joe Gomez with that someone to play left-sided. Maybe, again, these are just all, guys, let me know in the comments. These are just all thoughts. I'm not saying either or. Well, I am saying either or kind of thing, but it's just more, which one do you think would best suit Liverpool? And again, when we take a look here at their, injury history and availability, throughout their time at Liverpool, it's kind of spooky at times, if I'm being totally honest with you. And again, where we're in this transitional phase, kind of thing. Now, this, for me, this season is what I call a transitional season. Last season, I'm not hearing that excuse from anybody. Any of you in the chat, anybody online, I'm not hearing it from none of you. That to me was an excuse that that majority of people put out there. Oh, it's a transitional season. Yeah, easy to say that when you're 3-4 months into a season and Liverpool were absolutely shit. Do you get what I mean? Yeah, all of a sudden it's a transitional season. The reality was there was no real transition in that, to be honest with you. We didn't go out and get so many different players. We didn't let a whole bunch of players leave in terms of who were in that first team and stuff like that. Who was it? Sadio Mane left, the season before. Trying to think off the top of my head in terms of first team starters, I can only realistically think it was Sadio Mane. Gini Wijnaldum, was he the season before? Let me know in the comments. I can't remember. But let's just say, for argument's sake, no, I think Gini Wijnaldum was even the season before that, to be honest with you. But let's say in the last 2 seasons prior to the 22-23 season, you only had Wijnaldum and Sadio Mane left. But then people are telling me that that last season was a transitional season. What transition? Klopp played the same. I know a lot of people have spoken to me about formations and stuff like that. Go and watch the games. You'll see the team set up more or less the exact same way in terms of the positions that the players actually take up on the field. Yeah, we might do 4-3-1-2, but in and out of possession, it was always 4-3-3. The same players were in the same positions at majority of time. Yes, there was a few moments in the game where you would see the team line up in that 4-3-1-2, the diamond thing that everyone kept talking about, playing with the 2 up top and blah, blah, blah kind of thing, even though it was just purely Firmino who dropped a bit more deeper than he would usually, almost forming into the attacking midfield as opposed to playing false 9 and moving into attacking midfield. He was just now in attacking midfield, and you had obviously Salah and Darwin Núñez obviously split kind of thing. But again, people will obviously tell you otherwise. Fair enough. I ain't going to argue with that, to be honest with you. But for me, it was always, we're playing the same way. 90% of that season was spent playing the same way. And I mean, actually playing on the pitch where I saw the players taking up spaces or positions on that actual pitch, it was the same thing. So when I'm looking at that, I'm just like, okay, so if the team is kind of playing more or less the same way, and again, we're talking here about Joe Gomez and Joel Matip and the way that Liverpool want to play, and the availability of these guys, again, it's like I mentioned, it's a little bit spooky. But let me dive into, obviously, their injury records. We look here. This is Matip's injury record. Let me take off the banner for you anyway. All right. Now, there was 2 pages of this. I said I'm not putting up 2 pages of this. And I'm not going to add this up either. I couldn't really be bothered, if I'm being 100% honest with you. I said, that's kind of long. You guys can see it on the screen. Heck, you can go to Transfer Market. Transfer Market isn't... and with Transfer Market as well, just quickly, don't take it as gospel, but it is a good source to use for certain individual things. But I don't take Transfer Market as necessarily gospel for everything, to be honest with you, because some of it is quite inaccurate. They do miss a lot of things as well. Maybe it's just up to date information. I don't know how regularly this gets updated, whether it's literally daily and stuff like that, but I don't always take it as gospel, but I like to use it at times. But looking here, where should we start? Let's start from the bottom up. Makes more sense that way anyway. So this is from 16-17. He missed 8 games in that season due to an ankle injury. 17-18. He missed 17 games. So now we've gone up. 18-19, 6 games. 19-20, 19 games. And then the 2021, I mean, it's not even the amount of games that he missed, even though it was that 8, 5, 13, plus another 4, 17, then 18, plus 5, 23, plus another 23, that's 46. I mean, unless I'm counting that wrong, that's 46 games in the 2021 season. So let's even look at that again. 23 plus 5, 28, 29, 33, plus the 5, 38, plus another 8, 46. In 2021, you missed 46. Like, who are you, bro? Like, generally, who are you? I might be adding this wrong. I'm just doing quick maths in my brain. I'm pretty sure that's right, guys. Again, let me know if I'm chatting shit. Let me know in the comment section. Excuse my language. 21, 22, obviously coronavirus kind of hit, ill 2 games in terms of just illness and stuff like that. But I mean, that season was a bit, as it was. And obviously last season missed 5 games due to a calf injury. I mean, I feel like they even missed injuries out anyway. But let's just go with the premise that we're just talking about these injuries right here. Bro, like, you cannot be missing this amount of games. Like, it doesn't make sense. You can't be missing that amount of games during your time at a football club. That's crazy. And again, like I said, and I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying or not understand what I'm trying to explain to you. I'm not saying that these guys, well, in Matip's anyway, in terms of Matip, I'm not saying he's a bad defender. I like Matip. He's good at bringing the ball out. He's comfortable defending in wide areas. He's comfortable being on the ball. He can pick out a pass. He can dribble. He's probably the best dribbler out of all the defenders that we had. Because I ain't never seen Van Dijk dribble. Konate, we already know about him. And Gomez is stiff as hell. Matip's probably the best dribbler that we have in that back line. Which frustrates me. Excuse me, which frustrates me. Because I'm just like, man, I wish that you were just available a bit more often. Like just a little bit more. Do you get what I'm trying to say? For someone who does possess the qualities that finally Jurgen Klopp has decided, maybe we go to a back 3. Even I don't even think there's even still a back 3. It kind of is like a 2 with your fullback still there, blah, whatever. But let's just go with the premise that it's a back 3, yeah? If it's this back 3, Matip is almost perfect for that right centre-back position. Perfect. Matip, Van Dijk, get a left-sided centre-back. Boom. Liverpool are cooking. But instead, his injury record, performances at times, kind of a bit, at times. But I'm not even too fussed because, excuse me, I'm not even too fussed because his performances haven't been so bad throughout his time in terms of the games that he has played. Where I'm like, okay, well, maybe not, blah blah blah. I like I said, I like Matip a lot. Unfortunately, now I just feel the injuries are going to have taken a toll on you in general. You're not as dynamic, you're not as agile, you're not as mobile as I would like you to be, purely because of the amount of injuries, the amount of games that you've had to, miss out on. So you're not as sharp as you probably should be at this stage of your career, But if we look at Matip's attributes, do you guys in the comments and let me know what you think? Do you not think that right centre-back role is literally made for him? Being able to go out wide and defend where he's decent. He's relatively quick, nowhere near as quick as Konate. Of course not. Konate is a flipping beast back there. But in terms of quick enough, I don't need him to be Speedy Gonzalez back there. I just need him to be quick enough, which he is. I need him to be able to be comfortable in those wide areas, which I've seen him. He can do that. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Positionally, he is all right. He's not the best. He's definitely not the best, but he's all right in that wide centre-back role. But most importantly, in this type of system, as well as we've now gotten over the fact, we've gotten past the fact that he is a competent enough defender. He can defend in a general sense, and we've seen him defend out wide. Not the best defending out wide, so I'm not going to gas him, but he's decent enough to defend out wide. The most important, which Konate doesn't have, he's then on-ball attributes, shits on everybody in that back line. Bar Virgil's passing, everything else in terms of on-ball ability, Matip is the best defender that we have in that sense. Again, taking away Virgil's passing, but everything else, Matip is head and shoulders. No one's even close to him in the dribbling, in the passing, passing into the midfield, into the attack, kind of thing. Being comfortable bringing that ball out of the back. Matip is so good at it. You can see it. We've seen the dribbles. We've seen the mazy runs. We've seen when he's taking the ball from centre back all the way up until the final third, and you're like, right, you know what? If it was that obviously you're defenders, so I don't expect it. But if he was a bit more technical in that, bro, you'd be able to shoot and do this and do that and boom, boom, boom. But that's me being over the top. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to go that far. I don't need you to go that far. You're a defender at the end of the day. But he can do all of these things. So it frustrates me when I think about Matip. And when I'm looking here, you know, today's video talking about Matip and Gomez, I'm like, right, you know what? I'd rather keep a Matip if I knew he could stay fit, like just stay fit and just be an option. Then I'd probably rather keep Matip and I can sell Gomez. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because that's just how I would look at it, because I feel like I get way more money, you know, way more money for Gomez than I would you anyway, you know. And if you could maintain a consistent enough level of performance for the next like 3 years, I probably wouldn't even be too fast. And then obviously I'd upgrade in that area maybe like this summer or next summer, but I wouldn't be too fussed with you going into the season playing in that right centre back role. If then you don't sign anybody and you were fit, I'd say you could play there. Konate could kind of be your backup, even though I think Konate should be playing in the centre of the back three. But let's just say for the purposes of what Jurgen Klopp wants to do and is likely to do, I would then have that there and I'll be like, yeah, I'm trying to, Liverpool would look better. And that's all it is putting the right players into the right position. Something that I don't feel that we do. Guys, let me know in the comments, what do you think about that in a general sense? You know, is that something that you would like to see or whatever? Like, I don't know. Just kind of like let me know, you know, what you're thinking behind that. But let's now move on to Joe Gomez. Okay. Again, like I said, I was not trolling through 2-3 pages of their transfer, their injury history and, you know, stuff like this. But yeah, I mean, Gomez is mad. Gomez looks mad because of the type of injuries that he's getting. But he always gets these like weird injuries, bruv. Like he got injured on England international duty, and I still feel like to this day I don't know what that was. Like I still don't know. Like he's not picking up. Like look at the difference, yeah. He's not really picking up like these type of, you know, injuries in terms of where, yes, obviously Matip still got, you know, like the ankle injury he had in 2021, you know, missed 23 games, the knee injury he had back in 1920, missed 19 games, the hamstring injury, which he missed 11 games. That's 3 double digits that he's got there, but it's not so massively high apart from that ankle injury. Gomez, though, it's like where you've got even 4, but it was cool. Yeah, it's one more than thing. But yours is mad, though. 52 games with a cruciate ligament injury back in that 15-16 season. People will say, cool, unlucky. All right, fairs. Achilles tendon problems, 15 games. Ankle surgery, 23 games. Patella problems, 39 games. And then he's had other ankle injuries, missed 5 games there. Ankle surgery again, he had to miss 2. Muscle injury, he had to miss 5. Like, your injuries are big, bro. Like, they're not small injury. And because he was a dynamic defender, because he was a defender who was quite front-footed, very fast, you know, could move between the lines pretty well at the back there, kind of thing. You know, quick, able to recover really well. He's that type of guy. Maybe those injuries then have played a part in it. I mean, he's still relatively quick as well. That's the mad thing about him. He's still relatively quick. But I just feel like with someone like him, in terms of where I feel he's best, again, I look at him like same way I look at Konate, and I'm just like, I know he can play left back and right back. He's filled in those roles. I actually think he was a better left back than he is a right back. I don't even know how that works, but he just seemed to be better on that left back position than he's ever been, in my opinion, as a right back. I don't really rate him at the right back position. I know a lot of people do, and guys, let me know in the comments whether, where do you rate him in terms of the position wise, kind of thing. It's just my personal opinion, but I don't really rate him in that right back position for Liverpool. Again, have to take into account what is it Liverpool look for in that kind of slot. Yes, he's had his 1 or 2 games where, yeah, he's looked solid. Yeah, he has. Just like anybody would do if you play a position enough times, there's going to be the odd occasion where you're going to look solid in those positions. I felt like he looked way more solid as a left back cutting in. It was almost that Cancelo thing without the dribbling. Did you know what I mean? Without the actual on-ball ability kind of thing. But he was just a solid option, and being able to cut in there, he was decent at getting himself forward on that side. And I'm sure that's where he picked up his injury, is in that left back position all those years ago under Brendan Rodgers. You know, signing him from Charlton, I thought, you know, really, really good prospect. And he's not a shit player. I know, big up Hussam. I know Hussam, you know, Ice Spice, Bambi on Ice, all of that. kind of thing, which I thought was a bit harsh. But at that time, it was true. To be honest with you, let's not kid ourselves. But just in a general sense, I just think like with someone like a Gomez, one, he needs more game time, which I don't think he's gonna get at Liverpool, and I don't think he really deserves it. Even if Liverpool even was to just go to a back four, for example, and you just had the two centre backs, he's not getting in a Virgil and or Konate. So then I'm looking at it thinking, well, you're realistically a rotation option. Now, cool, Liverpool then moved to a back three. You're still not getting in because Virgil Konate is still playing and you ain't playing left centre back. So then I'm just like, well, cool, you can be like for the team, from a team's perspective, you can be a rotation option. And I'm sure most of us probably wouldn't mind him being so. But one, you're kind of unreliable and I don't really trust you in that kind of sense. And two, do you want to be a rotation option? Do you not feel like at this age, at this stage of your career, you want to be playing games? And three, I just think that in terms of the overall ability, yes, he was really good in the season that we won the Premier League. He was. Like, let's not lie. Yeah, I mean, he was good in that season. He's had that one season, and outside of that, would I say he's been good? I'd say he's been consistent, if I'm being totally honest with you. But I just think the injuries have taken a toll, and I think that his attributes, they fitted obviously what Liverpool were doing at that time: high press, high line, all of that kind of stuff. Being able to get himself back in with Virgil, quick, blah blah, all these kind of things. But now we've got Konate who can do exactly those kind of things. So for me, I'm just like, we've just like Oxlade-Chamberlain. It's the same thing. We moved above you now. We've moved not above you. We've moved past you now. We don't require someone of your skill set anymore in the team, kind of thing. Whereas before, if you had been able to stay fit and available, you would have moved along with the team. But it's the same thing with Ox, obviously the injuries, all of that kind of stuff. We then moved past Ox. Winning the Premier League, Champions League, we don't need Ox. Why do we need Ox? People tell me, oh, he can shoot from outside the box. We didn't need it. You know what I mean? That was not a requirement of the midfield. Didn't even care that the midfield weren't scoring goals. Nobody cared. Nobody cared that the midfield weren't scoring goals because we didn't need them to do that. So Ox then bypassed it. So then his role, now he then looks like he's playing out wide, he's playing through the middle, he's doing this, he's doing everything but the position that he came into the team to do. That's what he's doing. Joe Gomez, I look at in the same way. I'm like, I still think there's a player in there. I'm not going to say you're shit. I don't want to go that far because I don't think that's true. But we've moved past you now. We've moved past what you bring to the table, if I'm being totally honest with you. Like I mentioned, though, from a Liverpool perspective, he probably would be a good rotation option. But I got to just think, is he willing to do that kind of role? Again, we can't let go of every centre-back. Can't let go of everybody because then who's then going to be a backup kind of thing? Hence the reason why I feel they would keep someone like a Matip, and if Gomez wanted to leave, they would let him go. We've got Jarell Quansah, who's coming up from the youth team. He can obviously fill in my opinion. He could be he could fill in that role if Gomez were to leave. I'll be like, yeah, I really wouldn't be too bothered with that, to be honest with you, and I would understand and I would respect Gomez's decision if he were to then leave. So, it's one of those kind of things. I mean, guys, let me know what you think in regards to what I'm saying, and again, I just want to make it clear. I'm not trying to diss any of the centre-backs. They've all got pros. They've all got cons. But we have to look at the way Liverpool play. We have to look at the way football is moving. We have to look at what is conducive to what we want to try and achieve in terms of on the pitch to then help us achieve our actual targets for the season. Are these players going to be able to do that? And that's what I question a lot with a lot of these players. Are these the players who can play in the positions to help Jurgen Klopp do their thing? Is Szoboszlai the player that we think he's going to be? I don't think so. I love Szoboszlai. I think he's a fantastic player, but I don't look at him and think he's going to do the same things he did at RB Leipzig because we don't play that way. And we don't require a player to do what he did in those positions for Leipzig, so to speak. He's going to be doing a different role. McAllister, I really liked him at Brighton because of the way Brighton play. I prefer the way Brighton played to the way that Liverpool played. So McAllister looked better in that team. Is he going to replicate those same things in that team for Liverpool? Luis Diaz. I'm still kind of a bit like not 100% on that kind of guy. But Luis Diaz, one thing I will say for Porto, the type of player that he was is not the player that he is here at Liverpool. We've seen it. You can watch him. It's been taken out of him, that kind of spark, that kind of whatever he had at Porto. He's not doing that same thing anymore at Liverpool. He's now a different type of player. Again, all these players are remain to be seen. Obviously, Szoboszlai, McAllister have just come. But these certain type of players who have a specific type of playing style, you're seeing they're not the same player that they were at their previous clubs. So then we have to look at it, and that's when I then look at all the other areas of the pitch and start to, pick the bones out of it. But we've got to, because we've got to understand, and I'm trying to win all the time. I'm trying to win as much as I possibly can, and I don't feel like we're doing it enough. So there must be a reason behind that. Okay, well, we've got this guy who does this and that guy who does that, and blah, blah, blah. And I just feel when I look at the back line, especially, I don't feel like we've got players. We need more specialists in those kind of areas instead of just players who can, he can fill in a job there. No, we do need specialists in these areas, because the way that you're playing, or the way that I think that you're trying to play, it needs and requires a specific type of player in certain positions. Maybe not every position. Maybe you don't need a certain type of player to play right wing, for us. Yeah, Salah can play there, or anybody else can kind of play there. Not really too much, maybe, of a difference in terms of the role of the player. And obviously the performances are going to be different, because Salah's, one of our best players, if not our best player. But just in terms of the role, it might not be that different. Left wing, same thing. You can plot anybody there. It's going to be kind of the same result, kind of thing, so to speak. But in other areas, I feel like it's so vitally important. A lot of you have spoken about midfield. That's the one area Liverpool need to, for me, alongside it. Let me not say it's above it or ahead of it, but for me, the defense is so equally as important as that midfield. I don't have one over the other. I don't look at the midfield and think, just because you go out and sign bare midfielders, or you go and sign bare midfielders, bang, Liverpool back like that. I feel like that's too naive in thinking. The defense is so crucial to that, only because he's already bought his attack. So I don't think I'm not even thinking about the attack. If I had my way, or if I had an input at all, then yeah, I wouldn't have some of those players there, and I'd buy a certain type of profile for that Liverpool team, because I feel that there's better players out there who can fit exactly what Klopp is really looking for. But cool, we've got those attackers now, not a problem. When I'm looking at the midfield and the defense, no, that for me, I'm not happy with it. I like I said, I like Szoboszlai, I like McAllister. I think they're good players. But are they the right players? It remains to be seen. It might work. I have no idea, kind of thing. I want it to work because I like those two players. I like Szoboszlai a lot more, but I like them anyway enough to be like, I'm going to just wait on it and see how it kind of works out. But I do have our reservations. But defense, that is definitely a position that I'm looking at. And I'm like, we definitely need to pattern up that defense as well. I don't want people to sleep on it, though. Too many of you, not necessarily in this chat, but just too many Liverpool fans keep looking at that midfield like it is the main problem area. It is not. It is not the main problem area. Midfield and the defense are equally as important. If you do not get that sorted out, stop thinking that because we got Van Dijk and Konate that we're just going to go bang just like that. We saw how poor Robbo was last season. Do you get what I mean? We saw, in terms of the way that Liverpool were trying to play and build up from the back, it was kind of really non-existent, to be honest with you. If Trent wasn't dropping in the last 12 games anyway, if Trent wasn't dropping deep to pick up the ball and stuff like that, there was nothing. There was no build-up. There was literally zero things happening back there. And Trent can't always do that. Sometimes Trent gets backed into a corner. Then what happens? I need comfortability back there. I need players who are able to play there. I also need you to understand when we are playing in with that back three, or I keep saying back three, but it's not really a back three because Robbo doesn't actually play as a left-sided centre-back. He plays as a left wing-back. So in that back two, again, which is stupid because you're getting two, you're trying to get both Konate and Virgil van Dijk to then cover both right-sided centre-back, left-sided centre-back, and left-back and right-back positions, whereas it shouldn't realistically be like that. You shouldn't have to do that, in those kind of things. I shouldn't have to be cussing Trent because he's not back there helping out to defend. Like, all of these various different things shouldn't be happening in these kind of roles if you just got the right players to play in those roles and you just tweak the roles a little bit. But unfortunately, well, you already know how I stay when it comes to Jurgen Klopp and, tactically. So it's like, but what I will say is it's going to be interesting to see what happens next season in regards to what they do. And again, taking it back to Joel Matip and Joe Gomez, it's going to be interesting to see whether they both stay or if they go, and if they do go, what do Liverpool do? If it's just one of them go, what does Liverpool do in that scenario, in that situation? Again, very, very interesting, but my eyes are wide open and I'm watching everything that Liverpool are doing. Hence why I'm taking all these notes to try and understand, okay, he's trying to do this, he's trying to do that. Again, the season ain't started. So I have zero idea kind of thing in terms of how it's going to look or how it's going to pan out. But I am very intrigued and I have my reservations, but I can see it can work if you do certain things a bit differently. Then it can work. If not, then I'm not saying we'll finish 5th again, but title and challenging and all of that kind of stuff, yo, get that out of your brains, because that is just definitely not happening. But looking here, wanted to look at the stats. So we look at Joe Gomez stats. So this is obviously his time at Liverpool. You can see here, obviously joined in the 15-16 season. By the end of that season, he played 7 games. The following season, only 3. Obviously, he picked up that injury. Then we look here. So this is Joe Gomez, like, altogether, yeah. 30. This is all competitions, by the way, not just in the Premier League. 31 games in the 17-18, 25 in the 18-19, 43 in the 19-20, 12 2021, 21 in 21-22, and 31 last season. Does that make for good reading? Obviously, it doesn't show you sub appearances, so I'm not going to trifle through that. But is that the kind of record that you probably expected to see from someone like a Joe Gomez in terms of how he was being touted at Liverpool? I don't know. You might be happy with it. You might not. It kind of depends on where you see it. 173 games for Liverpool since 15-16. Been here a long time. I would expect to have a lot more, but it is what it is. And then if you look at his stats, obviously this is from last season. You see here minutes played. This is in the Premier League only. 1,461 minutes played. Expected assists. Don't really care about that. Chances created 1. Accurate passes 87%, which is really, really good. Forget the shots on target. Successful dribbles 80%. It's all right. Only got 4. Only did 4 anyway. So it is what it is. Tackles 75%. Would expect that to be a little bit higher, but fair enough. Clearances 47. Headed clearances, interceptions, and errors leading to goal, which is 1. Very, very interesting. Matip 187. I mean, Matip joined the season after Joe Gomez. 32 in his first, 35, 31, and then 13, 12, then shot up to 43, in the 21-22 season, and then 21, and it's like, again, the availability of both of these players has made it obviously a little bit difficult for them to really stay and remain consistent, if I'm being honest with you. Matip started out all right. Started out okay, 32 games, 35 games, 31 games, and then he had 2 seasons where it was just like, damn. She comes out as like, literally, damn. 13 and 12. That's under 20 games in a season. And he did that for back-to-back seasons. That's crazy to me. That's crazy. And then he just hit the 20 threshold last season. So you're looking at that's 3 seasons out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons that you've had where you either you were under the 20 threshold or just broke it. 3 out of the 8 seasons, just under 50% of the time that you've been here. I don't know, man. Gomez, 3, 12, 21, again, 25, again. I don't know, man. I don't know. Looking at Matip stats anyway from last season, minutes played 1,093, accurate passes 87%. Shots on target, he could have got more, to be fair. Successful dribbles, again, only did 4 with 57%, which I'm quite shocked about, to be honest with you. But again, I probably put that down to just context of he dribbles a lot more. It doesn't show me out of how many that he's had this season, so I don't actually know. But again, tackles not very good. If I'm being totally honest with you, 57%. I'd expect that to be a lot higher. Or sorry, I would want it to be a lot higher, should I say? Let me not say expect, but that's just how I look at it, kind of thing. Errors leading to goal, again, 1. So it's a tricky one, man. It is in my opinion a tricky one, and it's funny because you look at the successful dribbles, 57% for Matip at 4, and then you look at Joe Gomez 4 again and 80%. So again, I would like to see. Or maybe someone in the chat can let me know, whilst watching this, in terms of how many is that out of, kind of thing. If they're both equal, then clearly Joe Gomez is a better dribbler than Joao Matip, but I think most of us will probably say otherwise. But again, stats versus eye test, it's one of those kind of things, man. It's one of those kind of things. And the eye test is obviously always going to be subjective. Stats will never be subjective. In terms of the stats are the facts. Eye test is subjective. I guess you got to mix the two. It just depends on what context that you then want to use the said stats kind of thing. But regardless of anything, however it looks, stats is always the factual thing. So you tend to lean more towards that. But again, you have to mix it with, watching these players and, all of that kind of stuff. But look, guys, let me know, man. Just let me know in the comment section. Thank you guys, obviously, for rocking with me, this evening. What are we saying about Matip and Gomez? Are they two players that, when we're looking at them, are they two players that, you would like to see stay? Are we bothered? Do we want to see different players in there? If so, let me know in the comment section. Who would you replace them with and all that kind of good stuff? I think for me, if I had my own way, I'd probably look to sell. It's difficult, man. I don't know. Homegrown, I don't care about that, man. Liverpool just need to pattern them. They're pattern up in some way, shape, or form in another way, kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, spend the money. I'd probably let go Joe Gomez. You get a lot more money for him. Yeah, I mean, you're talking north of 40 mil at least, kind of thing. Homegrown player as well, former England international. It'd only be his injury record, I guess, that other clubs would be looking at and thinking, is it good? If it's watertight or it's calm, then yeah. And I would keep Matip for a season. Well, like in terms of, I wouldn't mind him staying this season. Obviously, still signing the left centre back, and then obviously signing the right centre back as well. I definitely think Liverpool need to do, but I wouldn't mind if you didn't want to spend the money, extra money. I wouldn't mind revisiting that area next season, kind of thing. If you could only pick one, I would say the more pressing one would be Robbo, because I feel like the left centre back market is a bit better than the right sided centre back market in terms of availability. So I would say maybe you get a Robbo. Colwell is the one that everybody wants, but there are others out there. But let's just use Colwell as an example. I'd probably say then you get in Levi Colwell. I'm okay with Matip playing right-sided centre-back. Heck, I'm even okay with him potentially playing ahead of Konate, to be honest with you. And those two just swap it out. Van Dijk in the middle. That's probably, again, that's why I think Konate should be playing. So that would be an area that you potentially look at. If you then wanted to get another to then shore up, I'm more than happy with that as well. There are quite a few other defenders out there that we could potentially sign, but I just don't want one of the main things I want people to take away from this video is I don't want you guys to sleep on the sheer fact that the defense is as important as that midfield, but also the attack. But the attack, because he's already signed those players, for me, what they need to learn is they need to be more intense. They need to press well. They need to press as a unit. They need to understand each other. Obviously, it's been changes. Luis Diaz coming in, Jota obviously being in and out with injury, Darwin Núñez obviously coming in, Gakpo coming in. Like, it's been a lot of change and upheaval. I expect this season for the cohesion of that front line to look a lot better. If it becomes better and they press better, you will know. I promise you guys, watch the games. You will notice Liverpool will look better in that term, in the term of when we are pressing and things like that, and defensively will just look better. If that doesn't work, doesn't matter what midfielders you buy. I promise you, it doesn't matter. Because once the midfield, once the attack gets bypassed with the way that we play with such high intensity and stuff like that, intensity being the key word, we'll just keep getting undone on these transitions. And I feel like next season is going to be so important because so many other teams are improving their teams. We're not facing Aston Villa of the Jack Grealish era where they didn't really have that many good players. They've got fantastic players now. Arsenal obviously improving, another fantastic team. Chelsea doing their thing. We ain't got a clue what they're going to be like, but if they get in a decent striker, could be scary hours for a lot of people. Manchester United got in Mason Mount. Yeah, do you get what I mean? I mean, I know a lot of people don't really rate Mason Mount, but it is what it is. Marcus Rashford doing well. They're looking to get Onana as well. They're going to change up the way that they play. They're going to probably be a lot more comfortable playing out from the back and have better build-up play. So again, Brighton, they're going to be in and about. So they beat us last season quite comfortably. I can see the same thing happening again. If they get in the right players with De Zerbi in charge, could be an issue. Newcastle, will they be stronger? We don't know. there's just bits of other teams where I'm not saying that we're not better than these teams, so to speak. You know, on our day, we obviously can beat anybody. But what I am saying is we need to understand we ain't facing the same teams of 3-4 years ago. When we were trying to battle with Manchester City to win the Premier League, it was just us. Those teams weren't good enough. You know what I mean? They just were not good enough. Newcastle was battling relegation just not too long ago. So that tells you where we're at this current moment in time. Arsenal's languishing fifth. Yeah, I mean, we weren't even concerning ourselves with Arsenal anymore back then. But now we are. Newcastle, now we are. Man United, now we are. Heck, Man United have finished above us, I think, once or twice in this last few years. I think, no, once. Under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That was under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, if they're able to do it then, if they now got a competent manager, getting better players, they're looking at a few others as well. Again, could be scary hours. I'm not trying to downplay Liverpool because we have got the players, the Mo Salahs, the Alis, the Van Dijks on their day, the Trents on their day. Whew, fantastic players. But as a unit, we were so far ahead of these other teams that I just feel like we've now got to a place of complacency. And I think that because we've gotten to this place of complacency, we just automatically, and even as fans, we just click into that. Yeah, we'll just get back to it straight away because we're so experienced at doing so. We should just be able to just go boom, 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 not knowing that these other teams are closing the gap on us. Forget Man City because they're ahead of everybody, but they're closing the gap on us. Have they closed it enough? We'll wait and see. Next season is going to be very, very telling. But, you know, that's a conversation for another day. Guys, gonna end the video here. Thank you for everybody who's tuned in. Thank you for everybody who was/is in the live chat. I hope you guys obviously enjoyed this video. I'm G. Let me know if you're watching this back on the replay. What do you guys think about Matip and Gomez? What would you guys do with the pair this summer? And I am out.